I thought we were kind of done with the Sydney Sweeney controversy, but yesterday it resurrected for a couple of reasons. Number one, Beyonce has now dropped a similar ad for Levi's without the jeans double entendre commentary, but it's Beyonce in a jeans ad, and it is being received like she, again, is the second coming, like everything that Beyonce does and touches, because you're not allowed to criticize Beyonce. You're only allowed to lavish praise upon her. And so that's gotten it going again. And now we're seeing a concerted effort on the left to turn the whole Sydney Sweeney controversy into a right-wing manufactured controversy, that there really were no leftists who were upset about the Sydney Sweeney ad. And it's really just Republicans like Trump and J.D. Vance who are fueling a made-up controversy. That's completely dishonest. This was entirely a left-wing freakout. And my own thought on it is, having engaged in a back and forth at length with one of the Pod Save America guys last night, again, who remains a mystery to me. The only one I know is that Tommy guy. I don't know the other ones. And this guy seemed genuinely hurt that I didn't know who he was after arguing with him. And then even one of the other guys.
I don't know. Tommy Vitter
no one knows.
Or something, I think. Yeah.
Literally nobody knows who they are. And my final advice to this guy as we were feuding on X was, good luck. Maybe one of these days you'll solo a show and then I'll learn your name. But until then, you're just one of the Pod Save America guys. Sorry,
and it's just such
not everybody
a
can do it.
low testosterone group of complainers and whiners. But please continue, Megyn. Sorry, I find their show unwatchable, and they're just
100%.
whiners.
Well, so he was one of the main people saying, no, this is a right-wing generated thing. And when I called him out on what bullshit that was, he said, name one Democrat politician who's pushed it. Okay. That's not the standard. It was an entirely leftist. I mean, I'll go through the list with you, but
ABC News did an entire segment on it, which is one of the most watched morning shows. Yeah, I mean, come on.
Here's just a couple of headlines, okay, and then I'll give you the floor. MSNBC, Sydney Sweeney's ad shows an unbridled cultural shift toward whiteness. Vox, Sydney Sweeney and the unsettling legacy of the blonde bombshell. Yahoo, Sydney Sweeney's great jeans ad slammed as Nazi propaganda. Yahoo, Sweeney takes heat for tone-deaf messaging. Boston Globe, how American Eagle Sydney Sweeney's good jeans ad went wrong. Slate, Sweeney has caused an uproar. It was always going to come to this. Salon, Sydney Sweeney's new campaign draws fire for racial undertones and goes on about eugenics movements in the U.S. often promote the idea of good genes to encourage reproduction among white, able-bodied people. And sterilization of others. Just a couple more. This is via the Washington Times that did a great wrap of it. USA Today reporting that for many, having a blonde, blue-eyed woman talk about genes felt like a reference to eugenics. Vanity Fair. The ads have been criticized by onlookers who see a sinister message lurking beneath the pun. Entertainment Weekly fretting that the commercial for denim clothing promoted an ideology supporting forced sterilization of marginalized groups, and giving voice to a TikTok user who said, it's all evidence of a rise of fascism in America. The media found experts to weigh in, like college professors who said the campaign's pun isn't just tone deaf, it's historically loaded. The Washington Post style section writer did something on it, talking about how the right wing mocking this ad only justifies her initial alarm at seeing the ads to them, and on it goes. This is a left-wing freakout. The right wing is sitting back, mocking it and laughing at it.
Yes, and also benefiting from it. So that's where I'm most interested in this. So every generation of young men have a woman or a series of women that they really look up to, or that they put posters of in their, bedrooms. That's not really a thing anymore. Whether it be Kathy Ireland or Brooke Shields or Farrah Fawcett, or Pamela Anderson or Carmen Electra, or Denise Richards. I mean, this is not a new phenomenon with the men of America who want to, I would say, look up to is a kind way of putting it, Megyn. But look, they're young men and they're trying to find their place in the world. And it's better than being trans, okay? It's better to have a Farrah Fawcett poster than being trans, okay?
Yes,
there's nothing wrong
American
with
men.
that. Yes, I mean, come on, this is how we're wired. It's how God designed us. Like, get over yourself. So for Gen Z men who have been just force-fed with androgynous, metrosexual, low testosterone, soy-fed type garbage since COVID, they now have a woman that many of them not just look up to, but they like, and understandably, obviously. And so, the one woman that is kind of their generation's Farrah Fawcett or Pamela Anderson or Carmen Electra, in a rather sultry, lusty ad, probably a little too lusty for my taste, but I don't want to be legalistic about it. I found nothing wrong with it at first because, like, on the spectrum of advertisements, it was actually not nearly as bad as some of the stuff we've seen. But fine. But when the reaction to this has been so delightful to witness, because, in political circles, we were worried this summer, are we going to start to lose young men? Are young men going to start to get disaffected? Are they starting to get a little worried about, disagreements on foreign policy, or, they can't afford stuff? I want to thank the freak out against the Sydney Sweeney thing, because every time you call Sydney Sweeney a fascist, another 20-year-old man registers as a Republican somewhere across the country.
So
and it is bringing a whole generation as a voting bloc, which is like, wait a second. So we have our own modern American tradition, our Farrah Fawcett, our Pamela Anderson. I'm not saying me, but I'm saying that's how they're saying it. And you're calling us a Nazi for doing that. And for an ad that, honestly, when I first saw it, I actually thought it was kind of, I don't want to say cringe, but I don't think it was as funny. I was like, okay, yeah, fine, sure, whatever. It wasn't like that scintillating. I think you'd agree, Megyn, right? It wasn't like overly witty, right?
It wouldn't have caught my notice at all had it not been for the meltdown.
It would have been like, fine, great, good for American Eagle. Honestly, it would be more notable that it wasn't like Megan Rapinoe wearing it. Like, okay, fine, we're more in like
Dylan Mulvaney.
The traditional. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's like not Dylan Mulvaney. It's not Rear Admiral, the guy that got Woman of the Year that worked for Biden, or the
Rachel
luggage
Levine.
thief that worked. Yeah, Rachel Levine, right? So we're not there. So I guess that's noteworthy, correct? And,
yeah.
But it goes. There's so much here, and I don't want to paint too broad of a brush, because I try not to do that. But an element of the backlash, Megyn, and we have to be honest, is that a blonde white woman who is not full of like tattoos or disfigurement surgery is like so repulsive to them, to the point where they think that it's the rise of the Third Reich. Again, I don't want to overly racialize this. I'm not trying to say every point of criticism has that kind of sentimentality, but it definitely exists. It definitely is an energy source here that they just find something so repulsive and offensive that a white blonde girl will be profiled in an advertisement like this, as if this is regression away from the wokening of the country. And let's call it for what it is. That is unadulterated, naked racism against the white women of this country.
Yeah. And we've been dealing with it for years now, and we're sick of it. That's part of why the right wing is enjoying this so much, because they're sick of this BS. They're sick of seeing white people be erased in their roles in movies and TV shows.
Yes, totally.
And we have to reinvent all these cultural characters that are actually white and make them black now. And on top of it, I said this the other day, there's something about Sydney Sweeney that's very refreshing, because she's like the anti-Kardashian. She's, yes, well endowed in the chestal region, shall we say, but she's not fake. She doesn't have like the enormous lips and like the enormous ass that's clearly been injected, and like the teeny tiny 2-inch waist that's also been surgically manipulated. She's got a normal, womanly shape, but it hasn't been enhanced to double D's to where it looks absolutely bizarre, or the lips same. And I think people appreciate that she is a beautiful girl who's just showing off her natural beauty. And for me, this is one of the reasons why I don't think the Beyonce ad was done in reaction. This seems to be part of a series for Beyonce and Levi's, which is a woke brand that ruined Jennifer Say's career because she questioned school closures. Remember, she came from Levi's. And anyway, I think it's a woke brand, and they've been partnering with Beyonce for a while. So the latest installment shows Beyonce in this jeans outfit. And I have to say, my own reaction to it was, especially on the heels of the Sweeney one, it's a fail, because it doesn't have what the Sweeney ad has, which is one of the things we're reacting positively to. Look how fake this is. That's not Beyonce's hair. It's not even Beyonce's hair color for the listening audience. It's blonde platinum. It's obviously a wig. She does not have blonde platinum hair. It's mostly straightened. The breasts are enormous. The shape is extra curvy. She's got extreme like makeup on, the big like sort of glossed lips with the extra long fingernails. And it's not even trying to be natural beauty. And which Beyonce is, in my view, a completely artificial creation. It's right on brand for her. She was made by Jay-Z. She was marketed and paid for by Jay-Z. He's basically bought all of her awards. People in the music industry will get bullied by this pair if they don't say about her what they want them to say or advance her award prospects in the right way. And she's got, as you know, is typical for folks who get in the limelight this way, skin that is as thin as tissue paper. Yours truly rolled her eyes, I did, when she entered country music with all this fanfare. Like we didn't have country music until Beyonce got there. It was a mild commentary. She's now running videotape of me before every concert to paint herself as the victim. Poor Beyonce.
Great name ID, Megyn.
Bullied by the big bad Megyn Kelly. Anyway, so I made this comment about how the ad doesn't work. It's not natural. She's not natural. Everything about her is bought and paid for. Cue more leftist meltdowns from people like the Pod Save America guys.
On the Beyonce thing, look, I hope Beyonce knows that there's a lot of people that really don't care that much about her. I am one of those people. I talk about Beyonce if it just kind of like comes across the news and kind of surfaces. But I will say, and I think it's an important point, which is, first of all, as a side note, just came the note, Levi's is the money behind Daniel Goldman, who is probably one of the most repulsive members of Congress.
Yes.
Daniel Goldman, just so you know, he got all of his money from the Levi Strauss fortune. Just a side note, this is a kind of a totally woke company and then a woke fortune that he inherited. Anyway, but look, the Beyonce, of course, she has a right to do the jeans ad, but it just looks so forced and it just looks so manufactured. And it goes to show, like, why did she feel the need to go do that? Was it to try to balance out the quote-unquote racial conversation? I don't know. We'll never know. It's all just kind of suspect. It's all just kind of speculation, I guess you could say. But there is something to this, and you mentioned this, which is that, like, Beyonce, even though she's, I guess, one of the biggest music stars ever, I find her music to be awful, unlistenable.
Same.
And just, quite honestly, just noise. It's not music. It's disgusting. It's fine. She seems like a sweet person. I'm not saying about her personally. I know nothing about her personally. You can comment on her personally. I know nothing about it, but I think her music is just awful. But she needs to get in the position of being the victim at all times. And that is a pattern that I've seen, which is that, like, yeah, I'm being attacked. You're Beyonce. Like, you're kind of a big deal. Like, somehow I am under assault. And she did this kind of shtick, remember, during the Kamala Harris campaign, where she's like, yeah, our rights are under attack. Your rights are not under attack, Beyonce. As you come, parachute in, charge $10 million, give a speech, left all of your fans super disappointed and mad at you that you didn't perform. And the speech wasn't even good. It was in Houston. It was all about, like women's autonomy or whatever BS that is. And so, look, I think what we're seeing, though, is Gen Z especially, they want to return to authenticity. They want to return to real. They do not want artificial. They do not want synthetic. You are much better equipped to make, to charge the indictment against Beyonce being fake. I will say, though, that the Sydney Sweeney appeal is partially what you're saying completely, Megyn. But to go even deeper, young men are like, enough with the over plastic presentation of women. There's something about how Sydney Sweeney presents herself where a lot of these young men are like, well, I kind of remember a girl like that in high school. Or I can kind of, it's more realistic. It's more almost attainable. If I dare, it's not this kind of like, okay, I'm never going to be able to meet a Kardashian. That's just not going to happen. But for a lot of young men, the way they tell me, I say, what is the appeal of Sydney Sweeney? Beside the obvious, visual aesthetics, they say, you have to understand is that she's real. She hasn't had like overwork done. She hasn't been butchered into the place where, like, again, the Kardashian gang is, they have a whole team of people that are constantly sculpting them.
Since President Trump was sworn in, his administration has made enormous progress at a breakneck pace. But don't forget, while they are moving mountains for the good of the nation, you've got your personal savings to worry about. And one of the best ways to look after your savings is through diversification, particularly with gold, like from Birch Gold Group. In the past 12 months, the value of gold has increased by 40%. And Birch was an advertiser on this show 12 months ago. If you had purchased then, you'd be 40% richer today. Now's the time. Central banks continue to bolster demand for gold by burying in record quantities. Global instability and tension is high, and Birch Gold makes owning physical gold so easy. Easily convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold, or buy some to store in your home safe. Just text MK to the number 989898, and Birch Gold is going to send you a free info kit on gold. Look into it, see if it's right for you. There's no obligation, just useful information to help you make a decision. With an A+ rating, with a Better Business Bureau, and tens of thousands of happy customers, take control of your savings today. Text MK to 989898. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.